Hello, this is Louise from Peace and Presence, and I'm live in Merlin, the Unicorn's magical storytime group. This is Merlin. So Merlin is a magical unicorn who has rainbow coloured hair and he's got a beautiful golden horn. I think his tail's needs a little bit of a touch up. So he's our storyteller tonight along with me. We're going to be going from day one today, which is going to be Cinderella, which is I've just looked at the story, it's quite a little long-ish story, so hope you can stay with me for all of the story. And I'll give you a little picture here. So there's the the glass slipper, really important part of the story. And this is from Charming Tales, Disney's Charming Tales. I've chosen this story from, and I'm excited to be in my character costume today. So I've got a beautiful rainbow coloured dressing going on. I've got my unicorn head set on, and I've got Merlin as well. So if you're going to come and join the story, I'd love you to come and bring your unicorns or your favourite teddies and get all cosy. And this is my little cozy corner that we're going to enjoy our stories for the next few days. And I've got my meowgical pyjamas on, which is about kitties, unicorn kitties. So I'm feeling very unicorn-tastic. So we're going to get on with the story, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Merlin, his magical adventures, his magical rainbow journey in a little bit. So hopefully you can join in, and I'll show you the pictures as we go along. So it's exciting. Okay, so I'll let you look at the first page. I've got a picture of Cinderella. So let's get going, and hopefully people will join as we get on with the story. So if you don't know who Cinderella is, she's a very old traditional fairy tale, and one of the princesses. I would say she's a princess, not necessarily starting off as a princess, but her life changes as she goes through lots of different challenges through her life, and she comes out the other side. Something positive, something magical happens in her life that we're going to discover today. And life doesn't always happen to be rosy and picturesque and perfect to start off with. It means we have to work hard and overcome challenges, and that's what I want to help you in your bedtimes with tonight, to kind of overcome all the challenges that happen and give you a little bit of hope that things aren't always going to be so negative and so difficult for you. So I hope you're finding that you're curled up with your mums, your dads, your brothers and your sisters, and that you're all kind of cosy and that you enjoy this story. Okay, so let's get going. So once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a young girl called Cinderella. She lived in a mansion with her stepmother and stepsisters, Anastasia and Drusilla. Cinderella was kind and lovely, while her stepsisters were selfish and ugly. Her mother did not like Cinderella. She made her do all the housework and sleep in the attic. But Cinderella always looked on the sunny side of life. She did her work cheerfully and made friends with the mice and the birds for company. So she may have been sleeping in the attic, but she loved to take note of the wildlife and the birds that came to visit her. Now the king of the country was hoping his son would marry and settle down. But how could he get his son to meet the right girl? Then he had a wonderful idea. He would have a ball in honour of his son. And all the eligible maidens in my kingdom just happened to be there. And so one morning the palace messenger appeared at the door of Cinderella's house with a special invitation. So there's the royal messenger at Cinderella's door. But she doesn't look very happy, does she, to see him? I wonder why. I wonder what's going to happen there. He's got lots of letters that he's going to be delivering. A ball in honour of His Highness the Prince "And by royal command, every eligible maiden is to attend," said the stepmother, as she read the invitation. "Why, that means I can go too," said Cinderella. "Ha ha!" screeched the stepsisters. They began to mimic Cinderella. "At the ball, I'd be honoured, your highness. Would you mind holding my broom?" "Why not? After all, I'm still a member of the family," said Cinderella firmly. And you can see her stepsisters giggling there. They're not very nice stepsisters. They're a bit mean. It's like they don't think she's worthy enough to actually be able to go to the ball. "Well, I see no reason why you can't go if you can't get all your work done," said her stepmother. So a little bit of promise there from the stepmother that she might be able to go to the ball. Cinderella's stepsisters were really upset. "Mother, do you realise what you've just said?" they cried. "Of course," I said, if the stepmother replied slyly. "If, oh if," said the stepsisters, grinning at each other. And of course, Cinderella would have to find a suitable dress to wear to the ball. She hurried up to the attic to see what she could find. So Cinderella has been given a promise of if she can find a dress, if she can find the right kind of clothes, she can go to the ball. In her room, Cinderella opened an old trunk and lifted out a dress. So there she is in an old trunk lifting out a dress. It had puff sleeves. The mice watched her curiously. "Isn't it lovely?" she asked, looking in the mirror. "It was my mother's." "Yes, but the dress old," said the thin little mouse, called Jack. "Oh, I'll fix that," said Cinderella. "I'll need a sash, a ruffle." Then the stepsisters called Cinderella. "Poor Cinderella," said the mice. "Every time she finds a minute, that's the time when they begin it." "Oh, well, guess my dress'll have to wait," Cinderella said. Then they called her downstairs to her stepsisters. "All right, I'm coming," she hurried out of the attic. "You'll see," squeaked Jack. "They'll fix her. She'll never get her dress done." Cinderella found her stepmother in the front hall with Anastasia and Drusilla. They told her to wash the hall floor, even though she had cleaned it the day before. Cinderella found her stepmother in the front hall. Oh, we've done that bit. "When you're through and before you begin your regular chores, I have a few things," said the stepmother. Anastasia and Drusilla found some extra work for Cinderella to do. They wanted her to iron their ball gowns, curl their hair for the party, that is, after sweeping the fireplace, shining the pots and pans and doing the laundry. Cinderella had no choice but to do as they asked all day long. She worked, thinking sadly of her dress in the attic. So she's cleaning the floor, she's fixing the dresses for her sisters, she's doing chores that she's already done. I wonder what's going to happen next. Do you think she's going to come to the ball? Meanwhile, her mice and birds friends worked on Cinderella's dress. Jacques and his new friend Gus scampered down to the stepsisters' room to see what they could find. The sisters were going through their cupboard. "These old rags," sniffed Anastasia, dropping a sash on the floor. Then Drusilla tossed some beads. She was tied into a corner. Gus and Jack dragged the sash and beads up to the attic, right past Lucifer, the cat. When the other mice saw what Gus and Jack had found, they cheered. So Cinderella might not have a really nice family, but she's got really good friends with the birds and the mice that are really helping her out. And look at this wonderful work that they're doing. They found some loose beads and a sash, and they're making Cinderella a beautiful dress. But she doesn't even know about it. At the end of the day, Cinderella was still working with the stepsisters. Drusilla made Cinderella help her try on one of the dresses after another. None of them could make her look as pretty as Cinderella. At last, the sisters paraded downstairs, very pleased themselves. "I'm not going," sighed Cinderella, as she climbed slowly into the attic. "Oh well, what's a royal ball?" But when she opened the door, her eyes lit up with stars. "Surprise!" cried the mice and the birds. They couldn't wait to see her dressed in this pretty gown, and they were all especially proud of all their work. "Why, I never dreamed it's such a surprise," gasped Cinderella. "How can I ever wait? Oh, thank you so much." She could barely believe that she would be able to go to the prince's ball after all. She took off her old clothes and slipped into the new dress. She swirled around in front of the mirror. She hurried out the door and blew a kiss at her little friends. So unknowingly to her stepsisters and her stepmother, she's going to go to the ball. After the work the mice and the birds have done, she's going to turn up, feeling so glam, so proud. And there she is, getting ready to go to the ball. Downstairs, Drizella and Anastasia were being given a last-minute check by their mother. The carriage was waiting for them outside. The stepmother was saying, "Now remember, when you are presented to His Highness, be sure to..." She stopped and gasped. She couldn't believe her eyes. They're coming down the grand staircase was Cinderella, prettier than ever, wearing this charming dress. "Please, wait for me," called Cinderella. She ran down the stairs and held out her skirt. "Isn't it lovely? Do you like it? Do you?" she asked. Drizella and Anastasia stared for a moment, horrified. "Mother..." "No," they babbled, both talking at once. "She can't go. Do something." "Girls, girls," said the stepmother, waving her hand for silence. "After all, we did make a bargain." She turned to Cinderella. "Didn't we?" Her eyes narrowed as she looked at Cinderella. "My, how very clever, these beads. They gave me just the right touch, don't you think, Drizella?" "No, they do not," screeched Drizella. They look... Why, you little thief! Those are my beads. Give them here," she snatched the beads from Cinderella's neck. So the beads that the birds and the mice found on the floor, they've been snatched from Cinderella's dress, the beautiful beads. "Look, that's my sash. She's wearing my sash," yelled Anastasia, ripping off the sash and the mice had sewn on so carefully. "No, stop waiting, Cinderella," wailed Cinderella, trying to defend herself, but Drizella and Anastasia tore her dress, pulling off the frills and all the bows, and soon Cinderella's ball gown was in tatters. It looked worse than her ordinary clothes. "Girls, that's quite enough," called the stepmothers. "Hurry along now, both of you," and the three of them sailed through the great door to the waiting carriage, leaving Cinderella home alone and miserable in the hall. And Cinderella feeling in tatters and feeling sorry for herself, while her stepsisters went gallivanting off to the ball. She's not feeling very happy at all. And there she is. Can you imagine if someone pulled all your clothes and made you feel really sad after some lovely work had been done to make you feel so magical and beautiful? Cinderella rushed into the garden and knelt by a stone bench, sobbing her heart out. It was so unfair. She'd always had faith in her dreams, and it had been her dearest wish to go to the ball, to wear a pretty dress, and to dance like the other girls. "I can't believe it, not any more. There's nothing left to believe in," Cinderella moaned. She's lost all her self-belief, all her positivity, all the things that sometimes we do feel when we get knocked down by people's words, people's actions. So this is really true to life. The mice watched miserably. Jacques and Gus knew that Cinderella's stepsisters didn't want her to go to the ball, but they could hardly believe that anyone could be so mean. All the animals felt sad. Major, the old cart horse, and Bruno the dog tried to comfort Cinderella. But something strange was twinkling in the air. Very soon a kind-faced lady was sitting on the bench, patting Cinderella's head and saying, "You can't go to the ball looking like that, but we'll have to hurry." "Why, then you must be Cinderella, your fairy godmother, of course," said the stranger with a kindly smile. And here's the fairy godmother. What can you see next to the fairy godmother? Can you guess what this might be? This pumpkin What do you think the fairy godmother might do with the pumpkin? Now let's see, said the fairy godmother. With a few waves of her wand, she began making magic. She found a pumpkin and a coach and turned Cinderella's mice friends into horses. The horse major became the coachman and Bruno the family dog became the footman. Abracadabra! The horse and the pumpkin magically changing and the mice became in the coachman. Well, hop in, my dear, we can't waste time. But Cinderella looked down at her tatters. Now, don't try to thank me, said the fairy godmother. I mean, I do, but don't you think my dress? Yes, yes, my dear, it's lovely. Suddenly the fairy godmother's eyes opened. Heavens, child, you can't go in that. The fairy godmother measured Cinderella around with the wand. What's a gown will be? Biddy-bee, biddy-biddy, biddy-boo. A shower of starlight whirled around her. Cinderella, as it melted away, there she stood in a sparkling ball gown. Oh, gasped Cinderella, twirling around. Did you ever see such a beautiful dress and glass slippers? It's like a dream. But like all dreams, well, I'm afraid it can't last forever. You'll have only till midnight and then the spell will be broken. It's more than I'd ever hoped for, said Cinderella, kissing the fairy godmother. And there she is, Cinderella looking so perfect and princess-like and magical. She's shimmering with this pure white blue golden gown. Away went Cinderella in her enchanted coach, racing beneath the starry sky toward the palace. Hundreds of people were gathering there for the ball. All eligible maidens were being presented to the prince. He didn't look very happy at all. In the balcony above, the king and the Grand Duke watched. The king was feeling very grumpy. Oh, this boy isn't cooperating, he growled. If I may say so, your majesty, I did try to warn you, said the Grand Duke nervously. There must be at least one who'd make a suitable wife, said the king. Just then, Drysilla and Anastasia were being presented. The prince rolled his eyes when he saw them. I give up, muttered the king. So the prince and the king are trying so hard to find a beautiful princess to be the prince's wife. But the prince had caught the princess. But something had caught the prince's eye. A beautiful young woman was wandering in the hall, just outside the ballroom. She was by far the loveliest maiden in the palace that evening. Without as much as an excuse me, he strode out of the ballroom and went up to Cinderella. The prince bowed to her, and without a word they walked slowly into the ballroom and began to dance. The king was beside himself with joy. Look at that, he hissed, poking the Grand Duke. Who is she? I'd never seen her before, sir, said the puzzled Grand Duke. We'll find out, ordered the king. And here's the prince, going to meet the mysterious lady. Do you know who this lady is? Cinderella and the prince waltzed around and around. They had eyes for only each other. Cinderella was sure that she was in love as she gazed at her handsome partner. All the guests were mystified. Do you know her? Drysilla asked her sister. Well, the prince certainly seems to, said Anastasia. The stepmother watched as a couple waltzed towards them, towards the balcony. There is something familiar about her, she said. Cinderella and the prince strolled into the palace garden, danced beneath the stars. But just as the prince bent down to kiss her, the palace clock began to chime midnight. Can you remember what's going to happen at midnight? What did the fairy godmother say? I must go, said Cinderella. Why, replied the prince. But Cinderella was already dashing away. Wait! I don't even know your name, cried the prince desperately. But Cinderella didn't answer as she ran away down the great staircase to her coach. See, she was in such a hurry that she left one of her slippers behind. So there's Cinderella running down the staircase. What does she leave behind? This is going to be a clue later. So the prince, what does he do next? Can you guess what he might do next? Maybe the glass slipper is a clue. The prince took the slipper to the Grand Duke. It was his only clue to finding the maiden whom he'd fallen in love with. And don't forget, the prince doesn't know who this young maiden is. He just knows how beautiful she is and how magnificent she is. So he took the glass slipper to find its owner. The Grand Duke issued a proclamation that every maiden in the kingdom would try on the slipper. Meanwhile, Cinderella's coach was racing home. Ding! Chimed the clock. Ding! Ding! As it reached the 12th chime, the beautiful coach disappeared. Cinderella was left sitting on a pumpkin beside Major, Bruno and the 4 mice. I forgot about everything, even the time, said Cinderella. But it was so wonderful. He was so handsome. Oh, I'm sure that even the prince himself couldn't have been more. Your flipper, Cinderella, your flipper, squeaked Jack. There, on Cinderella's foot, twinkled the other slipper. Love how he says flipper instead of slipper. All night long, the Grand Duke went from house to house, trying the slipper on every sleepy maiden. The news of the search reached Cinderella's house, and that's when Cinderella finally realised that her dance partner had been the prince. The stepmother noticed Cinderella's dreamy expression and became very suspicious. She heard him humming music from the ball. So there's there's Cinderella looking all dreaming, thinking, the prince, how wonderful. And there's her stepmother thinking, something's not quite right here. Okay. Cinderella raced up to her room to brush her hair. Oh, she's getting excited now. She wants to look very pretty. The stepmother followed her. Before Cinderella could stop her, this wicked woman had locked the door. Jack and Gus watched in horror. We've got to get the key, whispered Jack. Can you remember who Jack and Gus are? So Jack and Gus are the mice. And they're really Cinderella's only friends. Meanwhile, the Grand Duke's coach rumbled into the courtyard. Mother, Mother, the Grand Duke is here, screeched Drizella and Anastasia, who had been watching at the window. The Grand Duke walked slowly up the front stairs. A footman carried the glass slipper on a velvet pillow. Your Honour, our humble home, said the stepmother. The stepsisters curtsied and giggled. Anastasia and Drizella elbowed each other out of the way, each wanting to be the first to try on the glass slipper. Each sister tried to get her foot into the slipper. They pushed, they squeezed as hard as they could, but it was just no use. Meanwhile, Jack and Gus had scurried down into the drawing room, where the stepmother was busy talking to the Grand Duke. The brave little mice managed to steal the key from her pocket, and soon they dragged it upstairs to Cinderella's attic to free her. You are the only ladies in the household, I presume? Asked the weary Grand Duke. There's no one else, replied the stepmother. Very well, said the Grand Duke, walking towards the door. Good day, madame. Suddenly he heard a sweet voice calling, Please wait, please wait. May I try it on? May I try it on? There on the staircase was Cinderella in her work clothes. The Grand Duke took one look at her feet and smiled. Come on, my child, he said, leading her to the chair. But the angry stepmother tripped the footman as he carried over the slipper, and it smashed into pieces. Oh no, wailed the Grand Duke. But perhaps this would help, Cinderella. Perhaps this would help, said Cinderella, taking a glass slipper from her pocket. I have the other slipper. As the mice cheered and the horrified sisters looked on, the Grand Duke put the slipper on Cinderella's foot. It was a perfect fit. how happy the Grand Duke was. The king jumped for joy when he heard the news. And as for the prince, well, in no time at all, he married his lovely Cinderella, and they'd lived happily ever after. So the glass slipper fitted Cinderella's foot, and the prince has found his beautiful princess to marry. And even the mice and the birds are there, because they are Cinderella's true friends in this story. So Cinderella got her happy ending. She had to go through trauma and turmoil of cleaning and being rejected, spoken to, really mean. But in the end, she pushed through, and with some friends that we don't always think are going to be there to help us. People can come out of the woodwork and help you when you least expect it. But she kept up her positivity and her high hopes, and she managed to get through the hard times. So the fairy godmother was like someone who just came out of nowhere to help her. So that's like a message for you. If you're struggling at school, people are there to help you. You don't always see the people that are helping you because you're too busy worrying about all the things that maybe are not working out for you. So it could be that you're really struggling with your maths, and it could be that it could be someone who's sat at the side of you struggling too, that might be able to help you with something that you're finding really difficult. But you don't necessarily see them as something that's helping you, because all you can see is what's in front of you, and all those things that are really difficult, find it really hard to overcome. So look around you, see who might be there helping you. It could be a pet. Your pet's at home, sitting on your lap, are like fairy godmothers in a way, because they help to calm you. They help to provide you with that ability just to settle down, stroke them, and in return, they can help calm you. So Merlin's message today is, your fairy godmother, your help and all their positivity doesn't always come in the way you think it might do. So look out for different people, it might be birds, you might see animals and things outside that might help you, or it could be just being in nature might help you. So Merlin the unicorn, he's got lots of things that he can help you with your worries before you go to bed, to help you talk about what's bothering you and work through ways of finding out how to overcome these challenges. So tomorrow I'm going to be sharing Merlin the Unicorn's Magical Rainbow Journey, Chapter 1, The Rose Garden. And the Rose Garden is the first part of his stories that look at colour, helping you to use colour to help as a tool to help when you're feeling a little bit worried, when you're feeling a bit nervous. And it's got a different property. So tomorrow the colour red, when we go to the Rose Garden, is going to help you feel safe and secure. It's going to help you with some breathing. It's going to help you with saying some positive words to yourself. And it's going to help you use the colour red to help you visualise and imagine that you are protected. And so tomorrow the story will take you on a lovely adventure where you can use your imagination, your creativity, with Merlin's help, because he's going to be your guide on the story. And Merlin would love you to come along and try this story and see what you think of it. And if you really, really like the story, he's got also the opportunity for you to have your own recorded MP3 version of the story, along with 7 of the stories of different colours of the rainbow that all have different ways of helping you to calm you down, help you feel relaxed and reassured. And he can help you with different ways throughout your week, your life and your problems and your troubles, and help you feel a little bit more positive. So try out your story tomorrow. I'll be back at 6:30 and we'll be looking at Merlin's story. So I hope you've enjoyed Cinderella. If you've missed this one, because it's been quite a long story, please go back and watch the replay. And it is something that you can listen again and again to. And it's a magical fairy tale story that does have a wonderful ending, and it helps you believe that there is positivity, there is something that can help you and feel magical and tap into your inner child. So curl up with your teddies, listen to the story again, and I'll be back tomorrow at 6:30 to share Merlin's story with the Rose Garden. And if you want to actually tap into Merlin's stories already, he's opened the stories for you to buy and purchase, so you can buy one of his chapters of all 7 of them, and they're in the link to my website at the top of this page, and you can find out more about each and every one of those stories there. So I'm sending you good night blessings, have a wonderful sleep, and sleep well knowing that you are safe and you are loved, and that your fairy godmother comes in different ways and forms to help you out. So goodbye from me, and goodbye from Merlin. Goodbye.